Hello and welcome back to Around the Natty. This is episode 3. I'm Andrew.
I'm Logan.
And today we have our first guest. It's a very special guest. He's a lineman from Cincinnati Bearcats. His name is Mason. Say hi, Mason.
How's it going?
Today we are going to be talking a little bit of Bearcats, a little bit of Bengals, and a little bit of Reds. But with a special guest here who knows the ins and outs of the program, knows what the culture is like and everything like that, we're going to get in and we're going to ask him some questions just because he knows everything that's going on. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah, so I think we should jump right in. Mason, we got some good questions for you kind of lined up. Now, I will say to our audience that's listening at home, we did not tell Mason what the questions were going to be ahead of time. We try to keep it as respectful as possible as to not give away any kind of super detailed information, so he might have to shelter himself as far as what he's saying or filter what he's saying, but we'll try to keep it, give you some layups to start off with. So the first thing we obviously want to talk about, the cool thing is with Mason is that you've had a chance to work with both Tommy Tuberville and Luke Fickell, which is a pretty unique perspective. And so I'll just give you kind of free rein to talk about the differences between the two, likes and dislikes between the two, and just kind of give us an overview of what that looks like. Give us some insight.
Yeah, so it's hard to say with Coach Tubbs because he was my first college coach. So going into it, I did not really know what to expect from him. I remember when he was hired in high school, I remember how excited I was for that, just being a Bearcat fan. We didn't have much success under him before I was there and when I was there. And I liked him. I liked the coaching staff, but at the same time, he wasn't as hands-on as a lot of players would have liked. Mm-hmm. It's hard to argue with results, and we were not having the results on the field. We had close games, but we weren't winning, and that is probably one of the most frustrating things you can have.
Right.
With Coach Fickell, it is very different. He is very hands-on. He is very much position coach, whereas Coach Tubbs, sometimes you wouldn't really know his presence if you didn't see him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like I said, you can't argue with results. We struggled our first season, but I think just that alone, culture change aside and what we did in the offseason, I think that alone is a huge difference.
Well, and you kind of touched upon, I really appreciate the because from an outsider's perspective, it looks a lot like Coach Fickell is just a great football mind. And not to say that Tuberville wasn't, but I just never got that as a fan and as a third-party viewer. I never really got that or felt that way with Coach Tuberville. Can you speak about him as a motivator? Like, was he a good motivating presence? Was he a good speaker? Was he able to rally the team? Or what was your experience as far as that goes?
Yeah, so with Coach Tubbs, to be completely honest, he was not the rah-rah speech kind of guy. He was very set in his ways. And the way I always looked at it is that everything works once or twice, and I think that's where he struggled in Cincinnati. The difference being Coach Fick isn't a rah-rah guy, but he can give a speech. Mm-hmm. And definitely makes you want to run through a wall before you go out and do a game.
Yeah, and with that, one thing I think is a big factor in that is Cincinnati got Tuberville on his last legs as a coach in college football. And with Fickell, it's his first opportunity to be a head coach. And, regardless, coaches will say, I feel just as passionate about it today as I did when I first started. And they can say that and you can preach that. But we all know there comes a time in a coach's career where you're not feeling it the same way that you were feeling it. So I think that also could probably play a big part as far as, his passion for the game is kind of fading or waning like that. And also the opposite for Fickell. He's a fresh, young, newer coach to the scene. And that usually is refreshing for a team, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think part of it, too, just hearing you say that is, Tubbs came in to maintain a program. Coming off the success they had, they hired a coach that they thought was going to stick around, and it didn't pan out, and what he was doing wasn't working. Whereas Coach Fick comes in and he has to really rebuild again. And I think that resonates because, come week one, before you got onto the field, you're thinking about all the things you've done to change the culture. And that is a motivator, and that's definitely something that I think shows up on the field. And I think we really, really did that through the off season, and you could definitely see the results in a different, I guess, approach to the whole thing.
Yeah, well, and one thing with Coach Fickell from an outside perspective, and something that we talked about in the pre-show, and you kind of corrected us on a little bit, but to me it just seems like Coach Fickell's he's just a better recruiter, in my opinion. Like, it's what it looks like to me. And two, he's done a great job with local recruiting, which I think that, and coaches, not just Tuberville, but coaches all except for Brian Kelly did a really poor job at, is really tapping into that local talent. Can you speak to, would you say that the level of competition, the quality of players coming in from, between Tuberville and Fickell has improved? Is it different? What would you say about that?
Well, at least even since I've come out of high school, recruiting has changed every single year. It's getting more and more personable. You see these recruits with these edits they're getting from schools, and now there's even, I think they're having dads dress up, in the gear with the players. Like, when I was getting recruited, there was no, maybe if you were at a junior day, you put on a jersey, but there was no dressing up and then full gear and all that. So I think in that sense, recruiting has changed a lot, and I think Coach Fick and his staff are finding success through that with the local kids. On top of that, I think a lot of the local kids didn't feel like they had any loyalty. I know they all knew Cincinnati was great and wanted to be great, but I don't think, I just don't think his strategy was necessarily working, and I also think recruiting was changing and he wasn't as much.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit. Past Fickell's first year into this year. It's definitely, on the outside looking in, it's definitely, you guys kind of overachieved. Obviously, from the inside, you'd probably think that's exactly where you guys should have been, maybe even a little bit higher there. But kind of what I want to do is dive in and get your thoughts and opinions about, what your highlights of the season were. Maybe some lowlights as well, things that you think would have gone better or something like that. So if you want to dive in kind of what you think your highlight of the season was, or your highlights of the season, and then kind of some things that were lowlights.
Yeah, so I definitely think part of us, I wouldn't say overachieving, but it's a worry because when you win 8 games in 2 seasons, you start to question, how do we win? What is it going to take? Because we put in the work in 2017, but it just didn't pan out, and that's frustrating. And it's almost like it takes a win to learn how to win, and that's kind of a vicious cycle, and it's kind of hard to follow. But I think a highlight, an obvious one, is going out to UCLA and winning. And I think that because it gives so much energy going into the season. After that, we're going into Miami, who the past couple of years has brought it to us. We've won because our culture was better and theirs wasn't, but that doesn't mean they still... in 2017, we should have lost. We did nothing to win that game. So I think winning week 1 like we did in Pasadena really put us off to a start that is more significant than I think fans realize.
Yeah, there's no doubt that, going into a tough environment, power conference school that obviously has unlimited resources, big name coach, and Chip Kelly, there's a lot of hype going into that. And I think that one thing that we're curious about, as far as, because you always hear, professional Division I athletes saying that we don't listen to the outside noise, and there's a lot of, to be plain, disrespect going out towards the UC Bearcats going into that football game, and the narrative was all about Chip Kelly and the UCLA football team, whereas the only thing you would hear about UC was Fickell, there's discord within the coaching staff. They only won 4 games last year, which I think a lot of criticism was unfair. But give us an insight as to, is that something that you guys use as motivation? Is it something that coaches address at all in meetings? Like what to what level was that talked about, discussed, whether between players or between coaches and players?
Well, to be quite honest, and this was preached by Coach Fick a lot, was it's not about anyone else, it's about us. And, it's hard to hear that, and it's hard to pursue that when there's a lot of disrespect, and not just from the country, certain fans. It's difficult when these college kids are put up on a pedestal and expected to do these things, and you know how the internet is. Twitter can be pretty ruthless, and so that's tough. To say anyone that says they block out all of that is they either don't have social media or they're lying. So no, you can't block that out. But as far as motivation goes, yeah, there's always motivation for that. But really, our motivation was to prove it to ourselves that we could have success and that we would have success.
Absolutely, and I think you hit the head on the nail there. That is a powerful force going out there, getting that win and taking that into the season. Now, as far as the season as a whole, there are some good things, there are some bad things. What would you say would kind of be something that you would look to improve on, or maybe something that you guys think you didn't do so well? Because obviously your running game was great. Desmond Ridder was awesome as well. What do you think are some things that you guys could improve on going into next season?
It's hard to say because we had such a successful season. Obviously, I think we need to improve on the big stage. We didn't perform like we would have wanted to against Central Florida. Temple's been kind of our Achilles heel the past couple seasons. I think, I don't know what it is about them, but we really need to hone it in against a team like that and know that they're always going to bring it to us. So I would say continue the preparation we're putting in. I don't think there's anything we necessarily need to completely overhaul and change to improve. I think we just need to improve on everything in kind of a positive direction, if that makes any sense.
I just want to say, by the way, I totally defended the Bearcats' honor in a bar that night that you guys lost to Temple. It was actually my birthday.
Nope. Wrong. You were making fun of OSU when they were getting beat by Purdue.
And some guy wanted to yell and claim that and talking trash about how UCU was a second-rate school and this and that. But I just want to say that I was ready to go fisticuffs.
He's making it sound like he drew a sword and rode in on horseback. No, he was talking and then he hugged a guy in a bar. So
I appreciate it. I mean, anyone that's going to defend the honor.
Yeah, no, we're all Cincy fans here, but
some people aren't. Some people get insulted if you're not a Buckeye fan.
Yeah, see, I'm a Cincy guy. I don't live in Columbus. I'm a Cincy guy, but sorry, I digress. I do want to take. We actually fielded some questions from our Twitter followers, and while they weren't really football specific, I think they're still fun and kind of funny. So at Smitty Z Top wants to know, Big M, what are you wearing?
My God, you look great.
How you doing, Smitty Z Top? So what I'm wearing right now, I'm going to start from the shoes and go up. I'm wearing the official Cincinnati Bearcats 2018 travel shoes.
Nice.
They are white soled, black Under Armours.
Woo!
From there, I'm going to my dark washed American Eagle jeans. They're stretchy.
Stretchy jeans, baby.
Because I do weigh 300 pounds.
That's a big boy.
I'm wearing a zip-up Under Armour Bearcat hoodie and a shirt with the shape of Ohio and a sea paw on it.
The real Ohio team.
The real Ohio team. Hanes underwear and a tan hat that is worn backwards.
What does it say? It says 1860 Cattle Co. So he's the real salt of the earth guy.
And the one thing you didn't mention, he's got hair like lettuce right now. By the way, as well. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's flowing.
Yeah,
it looks great.
I've been trying to petition the video people to do a special on who has the best hair on the team.
You think you win that competition?
I do. And the guy, he's like, "What about this guy's hair?" And it's like super awkward stage at the time, and I was so insulted. I stormed out. I was like,
that kind of hair is not easy to grow.
No.
Again, it's not easy. You got to go through a stage of really ugly hair.
Oh my god, it was horrible.
To get to the golden pot at the end of the rainbow.
Horrible.
You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't come without concern from other people I know.
Right.
Last year we were out getting some adult beverages, and Mr. Gary Gamble had some choice words for your hair at the time as well.
For my hair?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that. We were at B-Dubs for this guy's birthday, and he was giving you a hard time, needless to say, about the hairdo.
Listen, I've been tuning out Gary my whole life. I don't know what to say about that, but no, I will go on record as saying I know for a fact Coach Fickle does not like it, which is crazy because he coached Joey Bosa, who had mad flow at Ohio State.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Yeah. So whatever. Will you go on record as saying you have the best hair on the UC Bearcats football team?
I will 100% go on record as saying that.
Hot take, Mason Garrison, hottest hair of UC football.
I mean, the thing is, like, you don't even have to know me. Like, oh, where's that long-haired guy on the sideline? Boom, right there.
Yeah, we're definitely not going to notify you by your number on the back of your jersey.
I definitely saw you quite a bit on the in the bowl game. There was quite a few times where I thought you were going to get run over on the sideline there a couple of times. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, so we ran. I know what you're talking about. We ran one of my favorite plays to run. I'm not going to give away what it's called, but the tackle releases and goes for the corner. And
is it a toss?
No, it's a screen. That's what I just said.
Oh, I didn't hear screen.
Why don't you listen?
Sorry. Okay.
But so our tackle, Big Ferg, runs this Virginia Tech dude into the sideline right in front of my feet, like 10 yards down the field. And normally I am not one to say much to the opposing team. I don't know what came over me, but I'll tell you what, that VT player's helmet hit my feet and it was game over.
I'll say for censorship reasons, we probably shouldn't repeat those exact words on air. But
what's funny is usually what we yell at him on kickoff, and usually it's nothing like bad. It'll be like, you have small calves, or like your socks look stupid. Just harmless stuff because the ref's always right there, and you don't want to like yell anything too ignorant.
Right. Awesome. Well, we have another question from @sensei_Curtis, and this one I found particularly interesting and. Now, perhaps it's an inside joke, and if it is, I guess you can kind of let us in on it. But he says, he tweets, Mason, what are the training regiments like? If any, which fighting techniques are used in training to help the team become more conditioned and mentally tough?
Right. So, Sensei Curtis, also known as Vincent McConnell, he is an offensive lineman. He's decided to take up all forms of mixed martial arts. And
at the same time?
At the same time. He's taken them all up. He trained with Master Splinter. And he is he's taking trainees now, if you guys are interested.
You got coupons?
No coupons. I don't think he has coupons. But,
is it free?
It's not free.
Is it expensive?
You have to sell your soul.
That's pretty pricey.
Yeah. You can only do it once, and if you fail, like, that's it.
Is it worth it, though?
I mean, yeah, it's worth it.
Okay.
I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
I have to lose weight. But, so, to answer your question, and this is a real answer, what are the fighting techniques? So, we had a coach. He's not with us anymore. He's at Notre Dame. I said it like he died. He's alive.
He's no longer with us. Oh, God. Why'd you say it like that?
Coach Steiner, he was... his Twitter name is the Iron Nightmare. He was like an MMA fighter and like full. He's got the cauliflower ear. He's all about it. Like super gruff voice, like terrifying human being, but good dude. And we would do like boxing training on Saturdays with him. So we did that, and that was brutal, and especially because it was supposed to be a stretch day. And when we'll have these big workouts. So for instance, we'll have. We had Squat Fest, which is just, use your imagination for what we did that day. But they'll have these bags set up, and, they're like tackle dummies, and they've got the logo of every team we play. UCLA, UConn, Temple, all of them. And we just have to go through circuits where we put on the gloves, and for a minute or however long it is, it's just, like, reckless pounding on this bag. And by this time, you're already, like, fully exhausted, and you're just like, half crying, like flailing your arms with this bag. But I don't know if that answers the question for fighting techniques. But...
I'll say I think it's pretty good. Going off of that though, take us through. So take the person who's never been at a Division I program, never really seen it. Give us like a Sunday through Sunday. What does each day look like? So let's say you play on Saturday, game Saturday. What does each day look like?
Okay, so this year, our day off was Monday. Yes, our day off was Monday. So we had a game Saturday. We come in Sunday. We have longer meetings. So they're about 2.5 hours. We go out. We do our full dynamic stretch. We'll run about 6 to 8 50-yard sprints, depending on how much you played. And basically that's just to get the blood flowing back in your legs. Excuse me. And so we'll go from there. We'll go through a couple periods of individual drills. We're not in pads also. We're just in jerseys and helmets. And then we'll get that. And then we'll do a team run through. And that's our Sunday. And then depending on how the game went, which this year we had 10 regular season victory meals. So pretty good. So we go to victory meal, and then from there, Monday is our off day. So we'll have a morning lift, which again is just to get us going for the week, and then that's it. We go to class in the afternoon. So in the fall, the way it works is from noon to pretty much 7 o'clock at night, you belong to football. But from, 7 p.m. to noon, that's when you have to schedule your classes.
Right.
It flips in the spring, so right now it's the opposite. But from there, on a Tuesday, we've got a full padded practice, usually about 18 periods. And a period is 5 minutes long. So 18 of those, a lot of that, it doesn't include stretch or pre-practice. And then we'll go down the line as the week goes on. So Tuesday is full pad. Wednesday is uppers, which is shoulder pads, helmets. For the big guys, we still have knee braces on. Thursday we call it no sweat Thursday, so we're just in jerseys. Full walkthrough, that's about 14 periods. Friday, we'll put these things called vest on, which is just like, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's just a padded vest. It's light. It's a helmet. Mm-hmm. Throw a helmet on, and then we'll have another run through. And that's our schedule for game day. Now, did you want to know more about like a day? Like, what is one day like?
So I think you kind of gave a good overview. I think we get too far into it. People who aren't like used to football won't really follow as much. But I am interested. You said victory meal. Mm-hmm. What does that entail? Like, do you guys get like a buffet if you guys win? Like, what is that about?
So, victory meal in the past, like under Tubbs, and then 2017, it was like steak and shrimp and stuff.
Right on.
Yeah.
A little surf and turf. Okay.
Yeah, it was good, but it was like, it's not like 5-star restaurant good.
Sure.
It was like, this is nice.
What, Jeff Ruby ain't about it?
No.
Where at Jeff?
But no, it wasn't like, it was like, it was like a grade above cafeteria steak and shrimp. Okay. So it was decent.
We don't get cafeteria steak and shrimp at Division III Mount St. Joseph University. Sorry.
Well, we don't get it either, but I'm trying to make a point. Anyway. So now we had like, I don't know how many restaurants it was. I think it was like 6 restaurants that just went on a cycle.
Okay.
And I say it was victory meal, but like when we lost to Temple, we still got one of those restaurants. The difference was we didn't have an ice cream bar. Yeah. And then, that's literally it. But it was like Piata, and that was the only one I can remember because it was my favorite. Some chicken places.
Nice.
You say ice cream bar. That reminds me. Have you seen the montage of Doug Peterson in his meetings?
No.
Yeah.
It's like 70 videos of Doug Peterson going, "Yeah, we got some ice cream melting down here. Yeah, we got some ice cream. We can go out here and get some ice cream."
He sits there. He's like, "All right, guys, we're gonna do a quick meeting day, and then go get some ice cream. Okay, got some ice cream waiting out there outside for you."
Did you see that Sean Payton tweet? Is like, I just ate ice cream for 4 days.
Yeah. After that loss, goodness gracious. So, that's actually a good question too. So what are the emotions and the turnaround like from between like a win and then a loss? Like, is it because I've often heard like the 24-hour rule. You know what I mean? Like you look at the loss. 24 hours gone. We're on to the next game. What does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, so we definitely try to do the 24-hour thing. I mean, what's up? Yeah, so we definitely try to do the 24-hour thing, and the way it works is, lost my train of thought. So we didn't lose very much this year. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's hard to tell you what it's like to lose. But listen, if we lost, the meetings weren't fun. You know, we'd always start Sunday with a team meeting after the game. And, you know, maybe in past, coaches would come in and blame players and this and that. Coach Fick always takes responsibility for whatever went wrong and whatever went, you know, our way. And basically everything we did, win or loss, was a learning experience. And it sounds cliche, but I really think that's a lot of the reason why we had success, was because we were able to not just buy into it, but like really take it to a new level of, this is a learning experience. We can't let this affect us. And this is what we're going to do to change it.
Yeah. Well, before we move on to, I want to say, and I said this in episode 1, and you can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, you weren't there during the Brian Kelly era. I always do that.
Error.
But that was an error. But for me, I think that Coach Fickle just seems like he has it. Whatever it is, he has it. Brian Kelly had it. Butch Jones did not. Tommy Tuberville did not. I mean, but Coach Fickle just seems like whatever it is, he has it. And I think that there's just something that, I mean, first of all, he's made UC football fun again. As a fan, I'm excited to watch, you know, on if it's a weekday game or a Saturday game. Like, I'm excited to get home and watch. You know, I worked with Mount St. Joseph football this year, so oftentimes on Saturdays I wouldn't get to watch the games, but I'd always, you know, be sitting on the sideline, like looking at updates and checking it out. You know, 3 years ago, I that wasn't the same kind of excitement level. I think that there is a renewed energy about the program within the locker room, obviously within the fan base, and it's one of those things where perhaps it's more perceived than anything else. And I'm not necessarily, it's not an indictment against Tommy Tuberville, but more so just, you know, applause to Coach Fick, because I mean he's just the guy, you know, and I think that hopefully he's the guy for a long time. I know a lot of times this program uses a stepping stone program, which is what it is, but I mean he's the man, and I think that whatever it is that he has, it's it, and I just think that it's beautiful for the city of Cincinnati. It's beautiful for Bearcat football, and hopefully, you know, you as players have found an appreciation for that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, Coach Jones did win a Big East title.
I mean, that's true. That's fair.
But yeah, you're right. He does have it, and it's definitely easy to tell the difference from what was here versus what's here now. And you know, I'm definitely grateful that I could be a part of both, because both I was able to learn a lot of things, you know, about myself, about football, and just really grow as a player and an individual. So I am thankful for that, you know, whether the records were bad or not. I will say, when I came in, I was expecting, you know, to run the table of the American. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a shell shock to go 4-8 2 years in a row, because I think the misconception is when a new coach comes in and you see all these videos, these tough workouts, we worked hard under Tubbs. I mean, like, college football is hard, and we were doing the hard work. The difference is the little things. And again, it's cliche, but it's true. You know, under Tubbs, we weren't wearing the same workout gear. You know, we weren't wearing the same uniforms during games. And, like, it just comes down to the little things. And it's hard to think of other examples off the top of my mind, but you can just tell a difference in a program based on how they carry themselves and what they do in the offseason. And it really has less to do with work and more about the details, the minute details that you're not always focusing on, to make the difference on Saturdays.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, you know, culture change is important. I think eventually culture always gets stale, and I think that change is never a bad thing, even though it can be scary. One program that's also going through a big culture change and is perhaps leaving a lot of question marks for us is the Cincinnati Bengals. And, you know, with new head coach Zach Taylor, who previously was an offensive coordinator with UC. Obviously, you played under Zach Taylor, right? Mm-hmm. And so hopefully you can get some insight for that. I think Andrew had some questions about Zach Taylor for Big M, and obviously, like I said, that's going to be something we'll be looking forward to a lot this fall.
Yeah, and I only have one question. It's kind of a broad question, and it's open to interpretation. Obviously, him being OC for the Bearcats was not overall great. Winning 4 games is not pleasant. And you said there was stretches where you guys couldn't get in the end zone. So my question to you is that players, is that scheme, is that his play call? What kind of things weighed into that and kind of made it that way? Was it him overall?
Here's what I'll say. I do not. There's a certain point in offensive coordinators, I believe, where a lot of the plays and schemes are pretty similar to anyone else, say except for like whoever's running the offense in Navy. The techniques might be different, but when it comes down to it, a lot of offenses are ran a lot of very similar ways. And I could be wrong. There could be an offensive mastermind out there saying you're wrong. All offenses are different. Our problem was in our program. I mean, what you saw was what you got. We did not have a strong culture, and it showed. We were kind of, the season before when we went to the Hawaii Bowl, we were very much riding the coattails of the older guys and the culture that was kind of fading away. So I think that has a lot to do with the success Zach Taylor had. I know he's a great coach. Our quarterbacks, whether you want to believe it or not, because the quarterbacks are the first to get a blame, were coached very well. And were really honed in on their techniques. I think the struggle was the fact that we were dealing with 3 guys. And I think anyone that says, having a quarterback competition is good just doesn't fully understand what that means. And that was a really big struggle, was because our offense never found a rhythm with one guy. So that's another issue with it. And I believe it wasn't just one thing, and it definitely wasn't just on Zach Taylor's shoulders. I think it was very much more deep-rooted than that.
Yeah. So what do you think Bengals fans have to look forward to with Zach Taylor at head?
Well, hopefully he's learned a lot since going to the Rams. And as a fan, I'm excited to see that hire because it shows that we're trying to, I guess, mimic is a good word to use, what the Rams did with Sean McVay. So I hope he brings a lot of passion and fire. But more than that, I hope it's just a fresh start and a fresh culture that the Bengal fans are going to see. He loves the city. He's been very vocal about that. And I think that alone is enough to get a fire started for the Bengals. And I think that's just anything fresh, as you said earlier. Just a culture cleanse. Not culture cleanse, that's bad. But just anything that's going to clean up what has been hindering them the past couple seasons is going to be great. Change is always good. Change can be scary, especially for the players. I think they have guaranteed jobs, but that's part of the business, and I think he's going to do a lot of good things here. Now, I do have a question though. You guys, the football experts, is that hire definite? I mean, I feel like
so there's no ink to paper. So just like with the Josh McDaniels hire, he technically could still say no, and the Bengals as an organization can't come out and announce that we are hiring Zach Taylor until
the Super
Bowl is over. Okay. So technically,
he's not our coach.
He's not our coach.
He's not our guy.
But for all intents and purposes, and from the best understanding of
he's our guy.
Right.
It's just scary because, as much as I appreciate what Marvin did, I was very happy finding out that he was going to get let go supposedly at the end of last season.
Yeah.
And then they say he was coming back, and I was like, you know what? I'm never believing Adam Schefter. I'm never believing this man again.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing with Marvin, though, and I think that this kind of speaks to the level of importance it is to have culture change over time. If you ever hear TJ Hushmanzada go on interviews with like Colin Cowherd or other shows, before Marvin got to Cincinnati, on a regular basis during training camp, these veterans would have strippers coming into the locker room like the day after, like right after practice. And like Marvin Lewis took this organization to an unreal and different level, and brought a level of professionalism to the organization. So I think that we appreciate what Marvin did. But love or hate Marvin Lewis, it was definitely time for change. 16 years is a long time, and
especially with no wins.
Well,
with no playoff wins.
Right.
The thing is too, like, just you mentioning that, like, before Marvin came in, I've met NFL players being in college football, and I have heard some stories, and I feel like that era of the NFL, especially being like the dogfighting culture that was going on in the NFL, like, that was just not a good time.
Yeah,
like, there was some bad stuff going on, so definite props to Marvin for what he's done for the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, he's been there 16 years. So the past the past 16 drafts have been Marvin drafts. So assuming Zach Taylor comes to Cincinnati, I kind of want to do maybe a way too early draft. Maybe talk about who we'd like to see picked up, maybe position groups, players. And if they go a little bit different, do we go best player available? Do we go based on need? So I kind of want to defer to you guys and what kind of positions do you want to see drafted? Do you have any players in mind that you want to see drafted?
Well, what I'll say is that for a long time, the Bengals would always just would draft best player available. It was never a thing where it was like position needs, what have you. One position, though, that the Bengals have neglected for a long, long time in the draft is linebacker. I mean, and we've gotten lucky with, Vontaze Burfict was very productive as an undrafted free agent. Vinny Ray has given you a lot for what he was. I mean, really and we know we've had 5th and 6th round guys come in and produce, but we haven't had a first round draft pick, or we haven't used a first round draft pick on a linebacker since Ray Maluga, and this year I think more than ever it's shown, and it's time that the middle of the field gets shored up, and we can actually see some kind of improvement there, because as far as the middle of the field, I know injuries played a part in this, but the middle of the field was wide open all season, and perhaps that was partially scheme. But I'm tired of signing, the A.J. Hawks, the James Harrisons, these guys.
Minter.
Yeah, the guys that are on the last legs of their career and just trying to fill the pieces there. I think it's time that we do address the linebacking need. I think it's the greatest need on the team. Just a little bit ahead of offensive line, and I think that's where we go. And I think this draft is very defensive heavy. I think there's going to be a lot of guys available that can make a difference immediately. And that's another thing I'm excited to see with this new era of coaches and this new everyone new coming in, is a lot of the times we draft these guys and they sit for a year, 2 years, which is fine when you're winning 10, 12 games and competing for conference championships and going to the playoffs 5 years in a row. But you have to have a sense of urgency now, and I think that's the first most important part of change, is creating that sense of urgency within the culture, and hopefully Zach Taylor will have the freedom to go out and get his guys and improve in that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think the draft is defense heavy. Now, if I'm the Bengals here, I'm looking at the draft and it's D-line heavy. First round. There's a lot of really good defensive linemen out on that in this draft. And to me, I'm thinking maybe capitalize on the strength of this defense, which is that defensive line. We get a couple. We get an interior guy next to Geno. We have our edge rushers like we do. Hubbard's coming into his own. Glasgow's coming back, being an interior, and obviously Lawson coming back as well. But I think maybe we capitalize on the defensive line here, and I think there are some more linebackers in the second round. Obviously, White from LSU is not going to be there in the second round. However, we don't know. We also didn't know Derwin James was going to fall as far as he did. But I think maybe you go D-line here and capitalize on the strength of this defense. When the Bengals were really successful on defense, they always had that really good interior push.
Yeah.
They had Geno coming up the middle, and they had Pecco, and they had all these really good interior rushers, and then the outside guys closed the pocket from behind. So I think that's crucial to the success of this defense that has kind of gotten off track over the past couple of years. So that's kind of where I see them going. I see there being linebackers later in the draft, and rather than there being defensive linemen later in the draft.
Yeah, I definitely think Gino has too much pressure on him to be the guy dominating, and he still does it, and it's always impressive. But I definitely think he needs someone to compliment him. I'm very impressed by the production of Jesse Bates. I think he's balled. He definitely has exceeded expectations for me. But just going off the defense, I feel like the past couple of years, their secondary has just been scrambling to either play together, stay healthy, have all the right guys on the same field. It seems like someone was always getting burnt. What do you guys think about that?
So I definitely think that the secondary has been partially injury. It's been I think a lot of it honestly is that the rush hasn't been there quite the same way.
Right.
And I think part of that is the defensive line's been having to play the run a lot more than ever before because the line Vontaze Burfict has not been Vontaze Burfict.
Right.
And when you don't have that confidence in your linebackers to fill in the run, it takes away your ability to pin your ears back as a defensive lineman. And I don't know about scheme wise because I don't know what level of responsibility and gap integrity they're having to cover and things of that nature. But I think that's where it starts. I think that is what perpetuates struggles with the secondary. I also think that you have obviously William Jackson III has been outstanding. I think there's no doubt he can cover a number one receiver consistently. I hate that they don't move him around. I wish they'd let him follow the best guy and not just play him on one side of the field. Perhaps that will change in the new defense coordinator scheme. I don't. After that though, I'm not sure who's our. Is it Darquez Denard? I don't know who I can confidently say is going to be able to go out man to man and play well against a second receiver, and I think that's where you get into problems. But I think that I can live with that if we have the proper front seven that can provide a rush and getting after the quarterback. And we see, in today's NFL, you're going to give up yards. That's just what's going to happen. They're going to put up points. You're going to give up yards. That's the way the NFL's built. The key is, can you rush the passer and can you force turnovers? If you can do that effectively, you have a chance of competing and being in games. The years and the history of giving up 200 yards or less in a game, that's gone. That's over. The NFL doesn't exist that way anymore. It's not the way the game's played. But can you model the Bears defense where they have good pass rushers, they get after the quarterback, they force turnovers. I think they averaged almost 3 turnovers a game. That's where you win in the NFL today on defense. So if we can do that and mimic that scheme and that model, I think we have a chance to compete.
Yeah, and to your point, our defensive line didn't have much of a chance. The middle of the field was wide open all year. Linebackers could not keep up with tight ends. They could not keep up with slot receivers. They had a field day with us in the middle of the field. So to your point, quarterbacks weren't holding on the ball very long. Yeah. So Gino didn't have a chance to get back there. Dunlap didn't have a chance to get back there. And pretty much the only times they had a sack was free release, it felt like.
If Nick Vigil is your best cover linebacker, that's a problem.
Right.
And that's not to say that's not an indictment against Nick Vigil, but there's no way in hell that Nick Vigil should be your number one pass defensive linebacker. That can't happen. And I think that's another thing too, is I think that we need to look into the draft and find the new style of linebacker where you see, the more athletic, the Land Sharks, the Ray Lewises, the Brian Urlachers. Again, they're outdated. They're outmodeled. That's not what we really need to see in today's NFL. We really need to focus on finding a way to go into, modeling the new linebacker, finding someone that can get out in coverage and be versatile, essentially.
I think you need someone that's just going to scream down the field on kickoff and then go out there and just run around like a madman. We just need someone that's going to play with attitude. And the Bengals have not had attitude since 2015.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, there's a lot to look forward to. A lot of questions won't be answered until we get a definitive hire on the DC side. I think there's been rumors about bringing in some people with experience to kind of give Zach Taylor a crutch to lean on as far as someone that's had head coaching experience as well. I think that'll be good for him, and we'll see what's happening from there. But I do want to go into a little buy, sell, hold action. this is a segment where essentially I will give an idea, a statement, and Mason and Andrew and myself will say whether we buy, sell, or hold. Meaning we agree with it, buy it, we sell it, no way, or hold, and we'll kind of get an explanation on that. So, are you boys ready?
Yes, sir.
So, I think that we should stick with UC since that's where we started. So the first one, and I think this is going to be the most fun one, honestly.
Oh, God, I know.
All right, buy, sell, hold. UC goes into the shoe and upsets Ohio State.
Buy.
Why?
Do I need a reason?
Love it. Love the confidence.
Yeah. Here's my thoughts. Everyone knows what Ohio State is. They put it on the field. They put the culture on the field. They have been trending, I would say, they've been the same amount of good, if that makes any sense. Like, they're good. They dominate the Big Ten. We know what to expect from them. And the thing is, the last time we faced them at the shoe, they beat us by 2 scores at the end. And truthfully, we weren't good. I mean, we had some shootouts because we had offensive talent. We had 3 NFL receivers. 2 were all-time record holders at UC. We were going to put up points, especially under Eddie Gran. But we were not a good team. You know, our defense struggled, and we still hardly lost that game to an Ohio State team, I might add, wrecked Alabama and Oregon in the national championship. So my thinking is, the way I see it, Ohio State's going to be Ohio State, but we are a totally different Cincinnati team that they have never seen before. And I don't think they're going to expect it, and I think they're going to get punched in the mouth early. The shoe's going to get silenced, and
love it.
Cats by 90.
Send it.
So that leads me to mine. So I'm gonna, since we have a UC guy here, UC Bearcat here.
Is it buy, sell, or hold? Just say it.
Give me a minute. And you know, I'm not quite sure what the Buckeyes offense is gonna look like. I'm gonna hold. And with that, we're going through a quarterback change in Columbus. They did get Justin Fields.
We're not going through a quarterback change, so.
In Columbus.
Yeah, but we aren't.
We're not, though.
We got D-Rids.
Sorry. They are going through a quarterback change in Columbus. They're going through a coaching change as well. We'll see how they play, start the season next year.
Sounds like you're buying.
So with that, I'm going to hold off on that and kind of defer to when the season starts. What week do they play?
2, I think. Yeah, 2.
Week 2. So
yeah, after
we get a little preview week 1 of seeing how both you guys will be playing, and then you guys get to square off week 2.
I buy it, and not only do I buy it, but I'll also raise it and say, not only does UC go into Ohio State and get the dub, but they go on, have another 10-win season, big bowl game again. And let's just say I expect big things from the Bearcats this year, and I'm ready to go. I'm excited for the season.
That's after going 1-0 against UCLA in the NIP.
That's right.
Mind you.
That was super a vague answer.
Okay, so sticking with UC football. Buy, sell, hold. Luke Fickell leaves after this season for greener pastures.
I'm going to let you go first, Big M.
I'm out on this one.
You're out on it?
Plead the fifth as a player.
Man.
So he holds.
What a politician answer, man.
I can't comment on that. I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea.
That's the thing. I don't think anybody has an idea. And again, I'm on the hold. Obviously, he had some opportunities after this season, and he had West Virginia, right? West Virginia was looking at him. So maybe he's gonna build what he has here and see if he can't get any better offers. But I'm gonna hold on that because I have absolutely no idea.
Well, I have more confidence than Andrew. I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna say that.
Get it out of here.
I'm gonna say that Fickell stays. He continues to build the program. I'm talking at least 4 to 6 years of greatness. I think that in a few years, us Bearcats fans will be calling for playoff expansion because we'll be knocking on the door. And I hope that here in the next couple of years, I'm going to say that we will in the next couple of years be the ones holding up signs that say real national champions.
He's staying. He's loyal. And we're not going to need expansion. We're going to be in the top 4 next year.
Woo! I love it. Let's get it. Let's get it. I love it. So, sticking with UC, but going to basketball. So, after a heartbreaking loss to Nevada last year in the tournament, and obviously graduating a lot of seniors, buy, sell, hold, the UC Bearcats lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament this year.
I'm going to take that. I'm going to sell. This is one of the better scoring offenses we've had in a while. And I think over the past couple of weeks, we've seen them get back to that defensive style ball. And I think that's the way that UC has found success is on their defensive side of the ball. So I'm going to sell that. I think they get past the first round of the tourney this year, depending on seed. So yeah, I'm selling that. Get that out of here. Get that out of my face.
Big M, what do you say?
I'm going to agree. I'm going to sell it. What I love about this team is they might not be as, I guess, prolific is the word. They don't have Gary Clark and Jacob Evans, but they're gritty. I mean, it's cliche, but this team plays with grit and heart, and you can see that in the, I think it was the East Carolina game, wasn't it, recently?
ECU.
Yeah, and yeah, in part, that's just their culture. They win. They're expected to win. Their program is held to a highest standard, and you can tell that by the way Coach Cronin leads them. They're not going to lose in the first round. I think they might even make a little run.
So I'm going to hold, and here's my reasoning. For the same reason and the same game that you cited, the ECU game, Jaron Cumberland. There's no reason why he can't be in the conversation for National Player of the Year. The problem with Jaron Cumberland up to this point is in games like ECU, games that you should win easily, he doesn't show up till the second half. I have yet to see a game that they should win where Jaron Cumberland comes in and plays two full halves of basketball. And I think that this team, as you guys mentioned, offensively, might be the best offensive team that we've had in a long time. And I think it's the first time in a long time we've had multiple scoring options to go to who can score at a high level. Obviously Sean Kilpatrick was a prolific scorer, all-time scoring leader at UC. But the reality is, Justin Jennifer, as you can see when they played the other night, can drop 6 threes on you, go 6 for 6 from the three-point line, can play off the ball, on the ball, has the second highest assist-to-turnover ratio in the NCAA. Jaron Cumberland, obviously, at his peak, and I think he looks a lot more confident this year. For the first time in a long time, we have a guy where when the game's on the line and it comes down to the final 6 of the game, we know where the ball's going. But my question is, can he play to the same intensity with the same level in the round of 64 as if it were the Final Four game?
That's tough, though, because he's got to, it's hard to expect that from a college player because the team has to pick up the slack at some point. He's not yet an NBA All-Star that's going to come out and just dominate every second of the game. I think what's important to take away from him is that he is dominating the second half, and he is winning us games in the second half. I think if he can stay out of foul trouble, that's the key. Not just showing up in the first half, but staying out of foul trouble early.
All right, fair enough.
Absolutely. With that, I do have a couple of my own. So we're going to go ahead and start off. I have one about the Bengals, and I think one that has been a dynamic that we've seen in the past 2 playoffs and the past 2 Super Bowls. It's the system, such as the Patriots, the system being the Belichicks, the Krafts, not paying their players these big bucks and kind of winning with their guys. And then you have the opposition. You have the people who go out and spend in free agency, such as the Eagles and the Rams. So my question, buy, sell, hold. Bengals open up in free agency this year.
Can you clarify, open up? What do you mean?
They go out and they spend some cash.
Sell.
Okay, why?
Prove me wrong, Mike Brown.
Fair enough.
What's going to change in the years that I've been watching the Bengals play and do the off season? I hope they make moves in the free agency, but I am not holding my breath.
See, I'm not. I'll say I'll buy it. I'll buy it, and I'll say that this off season has been a symbol of change in the organization. I think that they've gone out. They've listened to the fans. First of all, they've gone out, and they've made the hire that I think a lot of fans wanted. I think that they're going to allow Zach Taylor to be the guy and have a little more control than maybe Marvin Lewis did as far as personnel goes. I will say this with this caveat in that I don't know what the cap space looks like. I don't know what financially we have the ability to go out and get. One thing I talked about on last week's episode, and I think that's really important, and hopefully Zach Taylor will prove to be good at this, is I don't need to go and get the guy, meaning the hottest name, the biggest free agent. I just need to go get the right guy. So I think they spend money, but I think they spend money in a way that's going to surprise a lot of fans. It's not going to be with a big name. They're not going to make the big splashes.
I could see that.
But yeah. I think that Zach Taylor identifies what he needs in his system to improve this team, and I think they go out and get the right guys in free agency and they spend a little money.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a big name player. I think you're right in that sense. If they do go out in free agency, they're going to get someone, but it's not going to be on anyone's radar. I would imagine most fans probably wouldn't even react to it, to be completely honest. But yeah. I think if they were to get the right guy, like you talk about, it would surprise a lot of fans. It would not be, like the Rams have done with their D-line.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going as well. I think we have some gaps to fill here, and it's going to be some gaps that we're not necessarily going to be able to fill in the draft. There's only so many picks you have. There's only so many quality NFL starter-ready picks that you have. And with the amount of gaps the Bengals have currently, you're going to have to go out in free agency and get some guys. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and go into my next and final question. And this is about the Reds. One thing that has been a bright spot of the Reds is Scooter Gennett, who came over from Milwaukee, not playing anywhere near what he was playing the past 2 years. But last year, especially, he absolutely went off. Like nobody ever thought he could. So, buy, sell, hold. Do we think Gennett duplicates or even comes close to replicating what he did last year?
I'm going to say sell. I think that Scooter Gennett has been a great value pickup for the Reds. I think that to expect what was otherwise a journeyman before coming to Cincinnati and a guy that we picked up off waivers from Milwaukee, to expect him to have what, I mean, if the Reds were competitive, would have been considered a potential MVP candidate, in my opinion. To expect him to replicate that in a third straight season is asking a lot. I think that it would be a pleasant surprise if it were to happen again. So I think that he's still a productive player. I think he's still a fan favorite this year, but I think he falls off a little bit.
I'm going to say... Did you say you sold it?
I sold it.
Okay, I'm going to sell it, but this is the opposite direction. I think he's going to have a better season, but I don't think you're going to see it statistically. I think you're going to see it in more of a complementary fashion to the rest of the team. I think he's going to be more consistent when it counts, and I think the rest of the team is too. So, is his average? What was his average last year?
I have no idea.
Off the top of my head, I don't know. He was
at
one point
he was
hitting over 300 at one point in the season. So,
but didn't that fizzle out like? After
yeah, I think he ended with I don't know. I'll look it up real quick.
You can't blame him because they were winning games. I think at one point our record would have been in first place in the Indians division at one point last
going
year.
Into the All-Star break.
Yeah, and obviously we just didn't have the pitching staff to uphold a season like that. But
he hit 310 last year.
310.
I mean, that's hard. Wow. That's hard to keep
My
up
God.
with.
Yeah, I listen. I think.
I mean, that's 1 point below a Joey Votto career. You know what I mean? And like that guy's getting paid $25 million a year. So.
I definitely think I can see a 310 average, but I think it's going to be more of a complementary fashion between not just him, but Votto and Suarez and really everyone, the whole Reds lineup.
I will say, interesting stat for Scooter Gennett, his wins above replacement rating is 11.5 career. That's insane.
Wins above replacement? What exactly is that stat?
So basically, that's like in totality, how much you contribute to the team winning itself. So like basically, like if you took that player out of the game, how many games would they win or lose?
And what was it?
His career is 11.5. Last year's 4.2. I think 11.5 skewed a little bit just because
of Milwaukee.
When he was in Milwaukee, but I mean, he is a 289 career batting average guy, and he definitely brings some power to the right side of the plate. So
I'm just sick and tired of hearing people ask if we're going to get rid of him or trade him, because it's so painful how possible that is with the Reds. I'm having hopeful optimism right now that, we're really going to hold on to him. And didn't we get most of the players we got right now, aren't they like on 1-year deals to avoid arbitration?
Yeah,
everybody but Sonny Gray, I believe.
All right, so
and then Joey Votto, obviously.
Here's one.
Or are you talking about the guys we just acquired?
Yeah.
Here's one. Buy, sell, hold. We keep 90% of who we picked up next year.
I sell it.
Because we haven't picked up a lot. I think one puts us below 90, but I don't think we keep Matt Kemp. I think
we trade him before the season starts.
That's what a lot of people are saying.
I don't think we see Matt Kemp in a Reds jersey. For the Dodgers, and I think this was probably contingent in the trade. They need to get rid of some cap space. Or they need to make some cap space. So
and they had a crowded outfield too.
Yeah. And so do we.
So do we.
I mean, they had to free up some space. With that, they had to get rid of Kemp because he's old. He's on his way out, and I don't think we see Kemp in a Reds jersey.
Speaking of new guys, buy, sell, hold. Yasiel Puig hits 35 or more home runs.
I'm gonna buy.
I'm
gonna buy. That man's a slugger in this tiny ballpark. I think he smacks the ball apart.
Right.
I saw on MLB.com they were talking about him as a sleeper pick for MVP.
See, I don't know about MVP, but I mean he's going to tear the cover off the ball. And if you listen to a recent interview they had,
you can't listen to that. You got to read. It's so hard to listen to his interviews.
Oh no! It was with Tucker Barnhart. If you listen, there's a recent interview with Tucker Barnhart. He's talking about like the ball, and the ball itself is so much different. He thinks they're juicing the balls, and so hitters are just like like he said, balls that should usually be pop outs, like mid outfield pop outs, are now home runs. So I think in the smaller ballpark, and especially in a contract year, I think he tears it up. But to that point, I buy it. But I think that's why I sell your question, Mason, because I think he's going to hit 35 plus home runs, and he's going to get big money somewhere else after the season. Yep. And I don't think the Reds are going to be willing to pay for it.
Yep. But with that, I think we've kind of gone a little over here.
Yep.
Today we're sitting a little over an hour. But I wanted to thank Mason for coming on. I want to thank you guys for listening. Thank you to the two that gave us some questions. We would love to field some more questions from you guys. So if you guys can get involved in that and give us some questions, send it to and follow our Twitter channel as well. But Logan, do you have anything?
I think that's a good wrap up point. Again, I want to thank Big M for coming on. Please go and follow him on Twitter. Go ahead and give your Twitter handle out there. Big M, what do you got?
It's at Big M. Hold on, I don't even know it. It's either
trying to plug him and he's over here.
It's okay. At Big M _78. I couldn't remember where that was, but thank you for the plug.
Yeah, for sure. And we definitely want you guys to interact with us like Andrew said. So please go follow us at Around the Natty _ between each word. We also be coming out with a Facebook account. So for the old people out there who use Facebook, we'll be coming out with that. Hopefully we'll be starting to upload these on iTunes as well, so you guys can listen to that on your ride home from work and such. And other than that, thanks so much. And
Mason, do you have anything?
Yeah, first I just wanted to say thank you for both of you having me on. And then real quick, before I say the rest, the original @ name you guys had in your bio was like a Chinese furniture store.
It was in my bio.
It was in your bio.
I didn't put the underscores in it, and it's aroundthenatty.com, which is, I guess, a thing. Not us, obviously, but yeah.
We are not an Asian furniture store.
Can't confirm.
Hilarious. When I was trying to look at their Twitter account, and that's what I found.
Huge if true.
Quite confusing. But thank you for everyone listening. I kind of rambled and stuttered at some point, so I apologize, but hopefully you got the gist of it. I think we're going to have a really successful season this year. I hope you guys stick around and catch all of it, and thanks to these guys. This is a great show.
Yep.
Absolutely.
We'll be commentating all the way, and best of luck to you guys and the Bearcats this season.
Thank you. Cats by
Alrighty.
Nati.
Overall, thank you guys so much. This has been Around the Natty, episode 3. I've been Andrew.
I've been Logan.
Mason.
Thank you so much, and bye-bye.